Hi, I'm Pigtail Gurl. On July the 1st, 2025, the public was informed that a very mysterious interstellar object was in our midst. It was only the third interstellar object ever observed in modern times. It became known as 3I Atlas. The public couldn't get enough of it as the investigating planetary scientists classified it as a comet. And other scientists hypothesized that 3I Atlas could be the product of intentionally positioned ET tech with the intent to harm the Earth.
I'm Starfire Tor. Are either of these two scientist camps correct about anything that they are saying? You'll find out in this show. Because I solved the mystery of 3I Atlas. The reality of it is going to shock you as Pigtail Gurl and I present the findings and the many receipts that come with these findings. Understanding the identity of 3I Atlas also involves how well you understand the cosmic neighborhood that we live in. The solar system, the Milky Way galaxy, and the universe. In this show, we give you that essential info too. And this show also delves into the impact that the ET tech hypotheses hype has had on ET-UFO disclosure. This impact may also shock many of you. So, open your brain gates, because here we go.
If you enjoy the unique information that you find here on the Time Chronicles podcast, please support our podcast by donating and sharing. The clickable link is on the show's description page. Thank you so much from us here at the Time Chronicles. 3I Atlas, mystery solved.
And behold, we've put together some of the best photos of 3I Atlas for you. As you can see, depending on who took the photo, when it was took, where it was taken, it doesn't quite look the same, but these are all the same.
After its discovery on July the 1st, 2025, scientists announced that 3I Atlas was an interstellar comet. They made the interstellar determination based on the object's hyperbolic trajectory. They made the comet determination based on the object developing the comet characteristics of a coma, an icy nucleus, outgassing, water vapor, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide in its coma, plus brightness changes as it approached the sun. They correctly understood the science data. Despite this accuracy, these scientists misclassified 3I Atlas.
3I Atlas is not a comet. Although 3I Atlas shares some of the characteristics of a comet, for years, scientists have been studying other celestial objects that better match the comet-like features that 3I Atlas has showed. What are seen to be many anomalies for a comet classification are not anomalies when 3I Atlas is classified as what it actually is. Also, 3I Atlas is not ET tech nor ET controlled. This heavily promoted hypothesis, which used the 1950 Fermi paradox as a springboard to hypothetically connect 3I Atlas to ETs, also failed to meaningfully connect 3I Atlas to the global public interest in ET-UFO disclosure. 3I Atlas is an interstellar hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics. Hybrid asteroids can be interstellar objects or solar system objects. Hybrid asteroids within the solar system are called Centaur asteroids. Hybrid asteroids can have full comet features or partial comet features. Hybrid asteroids with partial comet features are called dark comet asteroids.
Not all comets and not all asteroids have the same characteristics. Some of them are so different that they have subcategories. Advances in astroscience are the key to learning more about hybrid asteroids. Some comets and hybrid asteroids have all or part of the features seen here.
Now, what you're looking at, as Pigtail Gurl just said, is what can be a comet or a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics. This is a full-blown comet or a full-blown asteroid with comet characteristics. It has an antitail, a core, a coma, so a little bit of rubble, dust tail, and an ion tail.
One eye Oumuamua, discovered October 19th, 2017, with the Pan-STARRS 1 telescope in Hawaii.
Oumuamua is such an interesting object. When it first came into our solar system and it was noticed, it was already partly through our solar system, so they didn't have as much time to observe it as the other interstellar objects. But the most interesting thing about it is that because they really couldn't decide on, is this an asteroid? Is this a comet? It was showing things to them that were so, well, anomalous. So instead of just like letting it go, they actually stuck with it for years. They began to search our solar system's asteroid belt. They were looking for any other asteroid or possibly comet that matches or is similar to Oumuamua. And you know what? It took them years, but they finally did. They found 14. And what they also discovered is what they found out was they needed to have a new classification of asteroid. Because Oumuamua turns out to be what they're now calling a dark comet asteroid. What does that mean? Well, a hybrid asteroid with dark comet characteristics means that only some features of or some characteristics of a comet are seen. So the rest of the comet characteristics are dark. Whether they're there or not, they don't know. So we now have the pronunciation of Oumuamua as an interstellar hybrid asteroid with dark comet characteristics. And I'm so pleased that the planetary scientists stayed with it.
We also have 2I Borisov, discovered August 30th, 2019, at the Borisov-Margo Observatory in Crimea.
Well, there you have the Borisov comet, and it is an interstellar comet. There's no other way to look at this one. And also, I've tried to size the three interstellar objects as best I could, but it's not to scale, just to show you that Oumuamua is smaller than the comet, Borisov, and then, of course, 3I Atlas is the largest one. Go ahead.
3I Atlas, first reported discovery was July the 1st, 2025. Retro discovery in archival space-based observations was May 2025. Atlas Survey Telescope, Chile.
And there is our interstellar hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics. There you have it.
1I Oumuamua enters and exits the solar system on its unbound hyperbolic trajectory in 2017.
Right. As you can see from where it enters and where it exits, there's a slight bowing of its trajectory. And that's important to understand because all of these interstellar objects do the same thing to a different degree than each other, but it's the same. Basically, when when it said that some object is unbound to the sun, that means that the sun's gravity cannot pull it into an orbit around the sun. So it's unbound, okay? A hyperbolic trajectory pretty much means the same thing. It's doing its own thing. It's a drive-through of our solar system, and it's not going to get caught up in anybody or anything else's gravitational well. Also, it takes about 94,000 miles an hour for an object that enters our solar system to get the correct velocity to be able to exit our solar system without getting caught in an orbit by the sun. So each of these interstellar objects has that escape velocity to it.
The 2I Borisov enters and exits the solar system on its unbound hyperbolic trajectory in 2019.
And here you see enters, exits, and again, there's that bow curve. That's the gravity of the sun pulling it in just a little bit, but also accelerating its speed, and it continues with its escape solar velocity.
Interstellar 3I Atlas hyperbolic path, the entry, trajectory, and exit of 3I Atlas from our solar system.
Right. And as you can see in this one, it also has a little bow, but it's not as great as the other two, Oumuamua and Borisov, simply because 3I Atlas was going at a higher rate of speed. It entered our inner solar system at about 137,000 miles an hour, and as it was being drawn toward the sun on its way through and out, it sped up to 157,000 miles per hour, and part of that was due to the sun's gravity pulling it toward it, and other of it was the outgassing from it being a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics. That's what outgassing is, and that's like little engines on it that propels it forward. And then when it got past the sun, it began to slow down a little bit. That's how it works.
The heavily hyped 3I Atlas ET tech hypothesis reduced public ET-UFO disclosure chat by about 80%. This is very concerning.
Very concerning. You see, no matter what a person's ET-UFO claims, hypotheses, or theories are, authentic ET-UFO disclosure must always be the top priority. Anything less will never deliver genuine ET-UFO disclosure results. And in this show, we're going to delve deeper into this and how and why that hypothesis tanked the chat on ET-UFO disclosure. Our home habitat is located on planet Earth.
Planet Earth is located in a solar system with a star at its center.
The solar system is located in the Milky Way galaxy.
And the Milky Way galaxy is located in the cosmic universe.
The cosmic universe is located within the core matrix. Science advances when people can freely think beyond the outdated and deeply ingrained belief systems that have been the accepted bedrock of celestial mechanics.
For thousands of years, humans thought that Earth was the center of the universe. Babylonians, Egyptians, and Greeks believed it. Aristotle and Plato promoted it. Then Aristarchus proposed that the sun was the center, and it was rejected. Copernicus reinitiated the idea, still rejected. The idea was later advanced by Galileo, Newton, and then Kepler. It then became an accepted reality.
Right. Now, here is what the solar system looked like before the powers that be in the planet accepted the reality that Earth was not the center of all things. As a matter of fact, they even thought that Earth just didn't move. It just hung still. It didn't spin. It didn't rotate. It didn't do anything. It just was there, and absolutely everything else rotated around it. They even thought that the sun and the Earth's moon were planets. Okay? So science advancing is so very important. And another thing about this is, and this is very important, there's a big reason why the powers that be on the planet at the time accepted, finally, Kepler's work. It wasn't just that his work was so excellent, which it was that these powers that be determined that having the sun at the center of the solar system and the Earth as just one of many objects orbiting around it is because it did not interfere with their spiritual and ideological belief systems. So once they realized that, hey, it was okay, it wasn't going to, move the dial on their faith, everything was okay. So that's important to know.
When planets collide, the origins of Earthia.
Yeah, it's so important when understanding the celestial neighborhood that we live in, the origin of our own solar system, but the origin of our planet, Earth. So it is believed at this time that our solar system originated about 4.7 billion years ago, and our Earth and probably the other planets that are here evolved about 4.5 billion years ago. And this is when the solar system was in its very early stages of formation. And the Earth and the other planets were called protoplanets, just not quite solid, a little bit mushy. And there was a planet called Theia, once upon a time, back then, that also was orbiting. And Theia left its track and collided with the Earth. This extremely powerful collision, Theia was about the size of Mars, smaller than Earth then. This powerful collision caused Theia and the Earth to merge. So Earth is really two planets in one, which is how come I like to call it Earthia and not Earth. Anyway, Earthia is still embedded in Earth to this very day. And in fact, there are two huge, large chunks of it, each the size of our moon. One is under the continent of Africa, and the other is under the Pacific. And they do influence the energy under these two areas of our planet. Theia brought some fantastic assets to the Earth, and they're embedded particularly through these big glob areas of Theia in our planet. They brought precious metals like iron, elements like water. It brought many of the elements that made our Earth habitable. So even though there was panspermia, without what Theia brought, it's very doubtful that, Earth and life would have been one. So the ejecta from this collision is what formed our moon. And of course, it was not round like it is now. In fact, there were several pieces of it, and it began to orbit our planet. And then eventually, over a great deal of time, it became the moon that we know today.
The Earth and Moon. Not everything in space is as it appears to be.
Well, and here's an image of the Earth, and there's an image of the moon. It's not to scale exactly, but I did my best to make it as to scale as I possibly could, not in distance, just in size, okay? The moon, for those of you who already know this, is a very, very interesting object in relationship to the Earth. Without the moon, no matter what Theia brought, we would probably not have life as it exists now. See, the moon is in a synchronous rotation with the Earth. And what this means is that the Earth and the moon rotate at the same speed. This big planet Earth and this little moon are rotating at the same speed. Unbelievable, okay? And this is why the Earth only sees one side of the moon ever. And this is why the moon doesn't appear to rotate when actually the moon does rotate. Okay? So if you think that the only reason why you see only one side of the moon is because it's not rotating, nope, that's not what it is. It's the synchronous rotation of the Earth and the moon. Now, let's say you're on the moon and you're looking back at the Earth. Well, only one side of Earth can ever be seen from the moon. Same reason, synchronous rotation, with one little exception. The Earth's spin can be seen. So from the moon, even though you're only seeing one side, there is a slight spin movement, never enough to show from the moon the other side of the planet, but enough that if you're on the moon, you can see this slow spin. Okay? This also creates a moon and Earth that are tidally locked. Now, I'm sure that you've heard that the moon controls the tides. This is why. Okay? So the Earth, the moon, everything is locked into its synchronous rotation, and they're not in the same spot, in the same space. Nope. Because why? The Earth is orbiting the sun. The moon is orbiting the Earth. And that is the fantasticness of the moon. I'm not even going into any other terraforming that might have happened with the moon. Just, I want all of you who have other ideas about the origin of the moon to know that it did originate with the ejecta from the collision between Theia and the Earth. And after that, it became shaped mostly naturally. Okay?
The major planets in our solar system. By 1838, it was finally accepted that the Sun was the center of the solar system. It took thousands of years for humans to advance from geocentric to heliocentric reality.
Right. So here I've put the sun and the 8 major planets that are known today. Of course, if you were alive before 2006, you were told there were 9 planets. Little Pluto was relegated to being a dwarf planet in the Kuiper belt, which you'll learn more about, only because planetary scientists updated their definition of what makes a planet a planet. Okay. But so here's just usually this string of planets is what most kids are taught. So then we have a more accurate view of the planets in our solar system by this more circular rings. And you see where our planets, 8 of them, are orbiting. And you see there is the sun properly placed at the center of this orbiting situation here. Now, for most of you, 99.99.99999% of you, this is what you think is the entirety of our solar system. And so on this show, probably for most of you, the very first time, we're going to show you the real celestial neighborhood, the real fantasticness of the solar system that we live in. So, behold, this is really a flat map of the entirety of our solar system. Just a flat map, okay? So the first thing we have on the left is our sun. Now, I've put the 8 planets in order, not in the way that they orbit, just for the purposes of this flat map to show you the entirety of our solar system. So that you have the sun, then Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Okay. Then in between Earth and Mars, you have near-Earth objects. Between Mars and Jupiter, you have the asteroid belt. And outside of Neptune, you have the Kuiper belt. But wait, This is where it ends for most people. Let's go back. Let's go back to where the 8 planets are. That's called the inner and outer solar system, known as the heliosphere. This is where the charged particles from the sun are. We're talking about radiation. We're talking about plasma. We're talking about coronal mass ejections and solar wind. Anything that the sun is outputting is the heliosphere. And it is within the heliosphere that our planets live. And then something happens. After the Kuiper belt, you have something called a termination shock and then a heliopause. And what that means is that all of the energy from the sun, the solar wind is stopped, the coronal mass ejections, the radiation, the plasma, all of that stops. It stops. Why? Why? Okay. This is because when our solar system was created, it was an explosion moving outward. And there is a point at the heliopause, I mean, the heliosphere is pausing, it's stopping. That stops, but the sun's gravitational pull does not stop there. It gets weaker the farther it goes out into space. So what happens is at this heliopause, you get some interstellar space. It's still within the sun's gravity, and you'll see something here called the Oort cloud. And you'll find something very interesting about it momentarily. The Oort cloud is so thick and so massive that all of the mostly comets that are in it and the icy bits and the infinitesimals are kept orbiting around our solar system simply because of the sun's gravity. But interstellar space, which is on the other edge, the outer edge of the Oort cloud, is pushing in. Okay, that's a tidal force, a universal tidal force. Interstellar space is pushing in. So the sun is pulling the Oort cloud. Everything in the Oort cloud would have gone out into interstellar space, but the sun's very, very weak gravity is holding it in. So the interstellar space is pushing the Oort cloud in. This piece of interstellar space is pushing it out, as is the solar energy. So the solar system itself, including the edge of the Oort cloud, all the way through to the other side, is about 30 trillion miles or 48 trillion kilometers wide. These are massive numbers. And we're just talking about our solar system. We're not even going into the galaxy yet or the universe, okay? Our solar system is orbiting within the Milky Way galaxy at 514,000 miles per hour or 828,000 kilometers an hour. Everything in the universe is on the move. Nothing is stationary. Nothing natural is stationary. So now, then we have a Milky Way galaxy traveling the universe at 1.3 million miles per hour, which is also 2.1 million kilometers an hour. So when you get to actual interstellar space, which is beyond the edge of the outer Oort cloud, you're in interstellar space, beyond the sun's gravity, while that little bit of interstellar space is within the sun's gravity. And then you'll see that I put some objects are in that interstellar space because they are there. They're constantly getting knocked out of the Oort cloud. Okay? So just know that everything is traveling. The sun is, rotating. All these planets are orbiting around it.
The solar system has 3 rings of asteroids and comets.
Okay, so as you can see here, I've recreated a kind of a disk view of that little point in the middle. That's our sun. The no planets to be seen here. Then the green disk ring, that's called the asteroid belt, located between Mars and Jupiter. And mostly it has asteroids, but there are some comets there. The coral color disk is the Kuiper belt, located beyond the orbit of Neptune. Now we're getting colder and colder. The closer you get into interstellar space, the colder it gets. So those are mostly comets, icy comets, but there are some asteroids and also hybrid asteroids. Then that purple, big purple space is the Oort cloud that surrounds our entire solar system. We'll get back to that in a moment because I'm going to shock you guys with something about that Oort cloud.
The Hilda, Trojan, and Greek asteroid groups are outward extensions of the asteroid belt that is located between Mars and Jupiter. Parts of the groups share the same orbit track as Jupiter. The Hilda group has about 6,000 asteroids and a lot fewer comets. The Trojan group has about 13,500 asteroids and a lot fewer comets. The Greek group has about 240,000 asteroids and a lot fewer comets.
Right. So here I just put together a top view of, you can see our planets and you can see the asteroid belt and you can see the Trojan groups. That's all you needed to see.
The solar system surrounded by its massive spherical Oort cloud.
Okay, now the Oort cloud, this is what I told you was really going to surprise most of you. The Oort cloud isn't a disk like the asteroid belt or the Kuiper belt. The Oort cloud is actually a massive spherical shell. It's hollow, but it's round, that surrounds the solar system, including our sun, the planets, the moons, the asteroid belt, the Kuiper belt, and trillions of comets, asteroids, and meteoroids. The Oort cloud formed from icy leftovers of the solar system's early beginnings when they were scattered to the solar system's farthest reaches by the gravity of the giant planets Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Then they were shaped into this spherical shell by galactic tidal forces. In other words, the universe was pushing in on it, and the sun's gravity was holding it in place. And so there's this like battle between the two. And that's why we have this shell, this literal globe, hollow globe is around our entire solar system. Now, besides this, some Oort cloud bodies have been pulled in from other stars and other cosmic systems as the sun and the solar system passed through them. So not 100% of every item that is in the Oort cloud came from the initial beginnings of our solar system. Some did come in from other systems, but not most. And this, as you can see, is a cutaway of the shell, and inside is our solar system with the planets.
The asteroid belt orbits the sun between Mars and Jupiter. It has millions of asteroids, but very few comets. It is smaller than the Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud. The Kuiper belt, much larger than the asteroid belt, orbits the sun beyond the orbit of Neptune. It has trillions of icy bodies and comets, and has less asteroids than comets. Now, the Oort cloud, the hollow sphere that surrounds the solar system beyond the Kuiper belt, that holds trillions of icy bodies, comets, and asteroids.
Right. And as we progress in the show and we start bringing receipts in about the hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics, you're going to see how knowing about the asteroid belt, the Kuiper belt, and the Oort cloud matters.
The Milky Way galaxy is the home to our sun and our solar system. The Milky Way galaxy is a spiral galaxy that contains our solar system. There are at least 100 billion stars and 400 billion planets. At its center is a massive black hole called Sagittarius A. It takes 250 million years for our solar system to make one orbit around the galactic core.
Basically, this is a top view of the Milky Way galaxy, and that little black thing in the middle, that's the black hole. And when you look at the right, this is a side view of the disk that is our Milky Way galaxy. And I also want to mention, if you see that yellow dot right there, that's where we are. That's our solar system is located there on the Orion arm of this spiral galaxy. Okay, so there is the disk on the right, the upper right, and the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy, is about 100,000 light years in diameter and 1,000 light years thick. Our solar system is about 27,000 light years from the galactic core's black hole. And although the galaxy is a spiral shaped disk, the center actually bulges. Okay, now take a look at the bottom one. That's the same thing, but now I'm showing you what it really looks like. Because the disk is not like just rigid. It actually flaps like wings, moving, undulating as it moves through the universe and encounters interstellar forces. So, like I told you before, everything in the universe is constantly on the move. The Milky Way galaxy moves through the universe at about 1.3 million miles per hour or 2.1 million kilometers an hour. And as the Milky Way moves, it undulates, just like I showed you, this vertical, dynamic galactic forces acting upon it. Now, within our galaxy, our solar system moves at about 515,000 miles per hour or 829,000 miles per hour within the Milky Way galaxy. My goodness, all those facts and figures, they're almost unbelievable to comprehend. But it is important that at least you understand how on the move, how fast, how incredible, and where interstellar space is.
Here we see thousands of galaxies seen in a small fraction of the universe.
Right. This is an actual photograph taken by the fantastic James Webb Space Telescope. Like, this is just a fraction. And in this fraction, we see thousands of galaxies. In fact, from Earth, or even other probes that we have out in space, in our solar system, that can take images, photographs, movies of our solar system, mostly of the sun and our planet, some on Mars. We can only see about 2 to 3% of the entirety of the universe. So this photograph represents a fraction of even that 2 to 3% that one can see from the Earth. Is there life out there besides Earth? Of course there is.
The reasons why scientists claimed that 3I Atlas was interstellar and a comet: hyperbolic trajectory, speed, origin, composition, position, and appearance. The reasons why their interstellar and comet claims can be effectively challenged.
Right. Okay. The first thing to understand is, of course, what the planetary scientists were saying, all the data they were putting out and what they were claiming. Now, a planetary scientist, there's not just one type of scientists that are planetary scientists. They're all different kinds. You can be an astrophysicist, an astronomer, a geologist, an archaeologist, tech, just all sorts, okay? So whatever group they have together that is doing this, this is what they came up with. And the first one is that 3I Atlas is interstellar because of its hyperbolic trajectory and solar system fly-through. All right. And it was traveling at about 137,000 miles per hour, aka 221,000 kilometers an hour when it was discovered. That's a speed that is beyond solar escape velocity, meaning that it originated in interstellar space from outside the solar system. Okay, right there, that's a problem. This is when I said to you earlier in the show that I had a problem with the interstellar call from the planetary scientists. I do lean toward it being interstellar, but this is something that needs to be resolved, and it's very clear why, which we'll show you after this list. And that is because these same planetary scientists, this scientific camp, have recognized comets and hybrid asteroids that have these same characteristics. They are on a hyperbolic trajectory. Their speed is over the maximum needed for not being bound to the sun, to have a hyperbolic trajectory. But they're said to come from the Oort cloud. Oh, that's not interstellar space. So there's a problem there, okay? Now, 3I Atlas is believed by these planetary scientists, is believed to have formed in another star system. It was then ejected into interstellar space, where it's been traveling for millions or billions of years before entering the solar system. Okay? So, okay, well, if it's interstellar, that's what it's going to be. Again, there's a problem, because they're also saying that objects from the Oort cloud have the same characteristics. They come in at a fast speed, they leave at a fast speed. They have a hyperbolic trajectory, so where's the difference? What makes one interstellar and one from the Oort cloud? Okay, so they continue, the planetary scientists, that observations of 3I Atlas revealed that it has an icy nucleus and a coma, which is typical of comets, and the presence of a coma, dust tail, ion tail, and outgassing further supports its classification as a comet. And of course, it's very high speed, as I said. The problem with that, as we will further show you, is that there are asteroids within our own solar system that have been studied for, some of them studied for years, some of them for decades, known to be hybrid asteroids because they have comet characteristics. They have the comas, the outgassing, the ion tail, the dust tail, and some of them have antitails. So you have to be able to separate them. Okay. Now, they also, the planetary scientists, said that observations revealed very unique chemical compositions, such as high carbon dioxide to water ice ratio and the detection of nickel gas without iron. Well, as you're going to see as we move along in the show, I'm going to show you that certain hybrid asteroids with comet characteristics, there is a natural process by which nickel and iron are separated. And so the outgassing of nickel is seen, but there's no outgassing of iron. In other words, that is known. It is not an anomaly. It is settled science, okay? And lastly, what the planetary scientists say is that data from telescopes showed that 3I Atlas was releasing gas and dust much farther from the sun than typical solar system comets. Well, guess what, folks? Hybrid asteroids with comet characteristics, are known to outgas dust much farther from the sun than typical solar system comets do. Known, settled science. Okay? So that's pretty basically what the planetary scientists have outlined, why they're calling it interstellar and why they're calling it a comet. And I'm showing you why it may not be interstellar. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but it's definitely not a comet. And everything that they call an anomaly as a comet, it's an anomaly only if you identify it as a comet. But once you realize it's a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics, all those anomalies go away.
Some of the correct and incorrect science claims about 3I Atlas. Science experts claimed 3I Atlas is a comet. It turned blue and brightened around the time of its closest pass to the Sun on October 29th, 2025. Its turning blue was an anomaly. Astrophysicist Avi Loeb used the anomaly and classification claims to hype his hypothesis that 3i Atlas may be ET tech. The reality: 3i Atlas is not a comet. It is an interstellar hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics. The blue coloration is not an anomaly, as the phenomena has been observed in many hybrid asteroids and comets in the solar system. These reality facts nullify Avi Loeb's related ET hypothesis claims, and here's the proof.
Right. These are actual, images of comets and hybrid asteroids, both blue. This is not something that the coloring that was put in later, like the Hubble does, sometimes add a blue cone. That's for scientific reasons. And the only one of these that is not an official photograph is an image that I created, the lower left of a comet named Phaethon, a very famous comet in our system, known to be blue, known to have that blue image, and I really couldn't find a really good one that I liked. So I created this image to mimic it. But everything else is blue. It's 3i Atlas, it's Comet Hale-Bopp. It's 2060 Chiron, which I talked about, and the comet Ison, the comet Pan-STARRS. It's blue. So what are they talking about? It's an anomaly. But every single time these planetary scientists, who I respect, by the way, every single time they say something is anomalous, I want to explain that better to you. Folks, when a planetary scientist says something is anomalous, they're talking about the observations and data collected in modern times and in past times by planetary scientists. They're not talking about the entire universe. I mean, they can't. So when they say it's anomalous to what planetary scientists have observed and seen in modern times and in the past. But when Avi Loeb latches onto the planetary scientist saying, that's anomalous, he uses that to say, hypothetically, could it be that ET tech is involved? See the difference, folks? It's only anomalous to the planetary scientists, not to generally everything that's out there, even in interstellar space.
Hybrid asteroids are asteroids with comet characteristics. Centaur asteroids are hybrid asteroids that orbit the Sun in our solar system. Interstellar objects are not gravitationally bound to any other object in space.
This chart of Centaur asteroids, those are hybrid asteroids with comet characteristics in our solar system, was created by the JPL Small Body Database. What I did is I took it, I colored it in so that it would be more just pop out, and I added some statistics to it so that you could understand better what I'm talking about here. I want to focus you on the middle one, upper, 2060 Chiron, which I will call Chiron. It's 135 miles or 220 kilometers wide. That's big. It's even got its own rings, just like Saturn has. And it even has its own orbit around the sun. They originally called it a minor planet because it's so small, but it's a planet because it has its own orbit. It's its own lane orbiting around the sun. But then when they got to see it in 1983, it was discovered in 1977. When they finally were able to take a better look at it with better scientific devices, they saw things that they hadn't seen before. And so they knew that it had comet characteristics. So now it was now called a hybrid asteroid or a Centaur asteroid with comet characteristics, and also a minor planet in its own orbit around the sun. On the left, Chariklo, bigger than Chiron, but also has some Saturn-like rings around it. On the right, you have 2002 GZ. Also, all of these asteroids with comet characteristics. The point of me showing you this is that settled science understands and knows about hybrid asteroids with comet characteristics. So 3I Atlas is not something anomalous in that it is a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics, not a comet. I'll say again, not a comet. But when you classify it as a comet, instead of a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics, you are then seeing things which are anomalous for a comet. But when you properly classify it as a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics, like I said, those anomalous things go away. Those are the receipts.
2060 Chiron, the Centaur asteroid.
Right. So as I was just talking about, here's a better look at Chiron. I created the image above based on scientific views of it. I just couldn't find an image that I liked well enough to show you. So this is more accurate. Chiron is kind of blue. There's that blue again. And there's some of the rings going around it. And below it shows you its orbit. All by itself. That's the white ring there. Okay? So in the 1980s, it's discovered to be this hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics. And only these types of hybrid asteroids that are bound to the sun are called centaurs. Remember that, okay? And interstellar hybrid asteroids, like 3I Atlas, are other than that, including 1I Oumuamua, which is a hybrid asteroid with dark comet, characteristics.
This is Comet Virhos, aka C2024E1.
Right. This is a really important comet to know about. This is a comet that is the size of a city. It originated in the solar system's Oort cloud. There's that Oort cloud again, okay? It's unbound to the sun. It has a hyperbolic trajectory through our solar system. And its speed was about 125,000 miles per hour, aka 201,600 kilometers an hour at its perihelion, meaning closest to the sun, that's the fastest that it was going. And as I told you, you only need to be going 94,000 miles an hour to escape the gravity of the sun. So here is a comet coming from the Oort cloud, not interstellar space, okay? And that's really important to understand, as I've said to you before. One of the reasons why the planetary scientists were saying that 3I Atlas is interstellar was because it had the same characteristics as this comet, its speed and its hyperbolic trajectory. Well, you cannot use that as a reason to call 3I Atlas interstellar when the comet Virhus from the Oort cloud has the same thing. Yeah, 3I Atlas is definitely faster, but not that much faster. Okay? So, this is something that I personally need to have resolved by these same planetary scientists. Now, on January the 20th of 2026, it was in perihelion with the sun, okay? And it passed in front of the sun. Now, Avi Loeb, in his hypotheses paper, and a lot of the things he talks about in interviews and on his podcast, he was saying that when 3I Atlas goes behind the sun on its trajectory, it could be doing sneaky things that are out of view of Earth. Okay. But no. Then on February 17, 2026, it was in perihelion with the Earth. Yet, it passed millions of miles closer to the Earth than 3i Atlas did. And despite its Earth flyby, no ET tech was in control of this comet's actions. No probes were sent out, no attacks were made against the Earth or any other planet in the solar system. Okay? And by the way, this comet was discovered in March of 2024 by the astronomer that the comet's named after. So what do we have here? These are more receipts. What's up with the interstellar thing with 3i Atlas when we have Verhulst with the hyperbolic moving through our solar system and it came from the Oort cloud? I'm confused. So I need resolution on this, planetary scientists, please.
The Jupiter Trojan P/2019 LD2 hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics.
Right. Now here's another example of where you're parsing, using a statistic of one item and calling it interstellar, and the same characteristic from something that's not interstellar, and you're not calling it interstellar. So here we have this hybrid asteroid from the Jupiter Trojan group, was discovered in 2019 by Atlas, the same science group that discovered 3i Atlas. So this comet here is also known as a Centaur asteroid. Whoa, wait a minute. Which is it? Centaur asteroid, which is a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics, or a comet? Right there. Planetary scientist, I need resolution. Okay, because look, it's a hybrid asteroid that orbits the sun, okay? It is also referred to as a Jupiter Trojan asteroid. Like, we got mixed messages here, right? Well, like 3i Atlas, a P2019LD2 has comet features including a coma, a dust tail, and signs of outgassing, but no ion tail. No big deal. And that's just because the ion tail's never been observed yet. Okay. So, because of Jupiter's significant gravitational influences, and it really does, this particular object is unstable in its orbit, and it's really believed that at some point this little guy is just gonna leave its orbit and maybe start a new orbit or maybe leave the solar system. No one knows. It's a mystery. But again, it does challenge what's a comet, what's a hybrid asteroid, and what is interstellar.
Are you ready? Because now we're going to go where no chicken has gone before. The Golden Comet chicken and celestial golden comet are both very real. FYI, they don't travel together. At perihelion, the Golden Comet was traveling at 130,000 miles per hour, aka 210,000 kilometers per hour. 3i Atlas was going 153,000 miles per hour, aka 246,000 kilometers per hour at perihelion.
Right. The point is, this comet, the Golden Comet, discovered by Atlas around the same time that they discovered 3i Atlas. And the Golden Comet came from the Oort cloud. There's that Oort cloud again. Okay? And it turned a golden color, which is unusual, but not unheard of. It turned a golden color at perihelion with the sun, which was on October 8th of 2025. And guess what? 3i Atlas had its perihelion with the sun. It's closest to the sun on October 29th, 2025. That's just weeks apart from each other. Both of these celestial objects travel through our solar system on a hyperbolic trajectory unbound to the sun. Both passed behind the sun. No ET tech was involved. Sorry, Abby. Now look. Avi Loeb made a really, really big deal, including in his hypotheses paper, that the fact that 3i Atlas was going behind the sun means from Earth's point of view. From other places in the solar system, it was clearly visible. Okay? But going behind the sun And not being visible from Earth does not mean out of sight. Earth has cameras, satellites, probes out there in the solar system that never had their eyes off of 3I Atlas. Never. So, if any sneaky business was going to be happening with some sort of ET probes or some change of trajectory or something, they were watching. It never happened. And please also notice that Avi Loeb did not mention the Golden Comet also went behind the sun, only weeks apart from 3I Atlas. So how can 3I Atlas be an anomaly and the Golden Comet not be? Sorry. That one doesn't fly. Oh, chickens can fly, by the way, but just not too far. Next.
Some comets and active hybrid asteroids develop anti-tails.
Right. This was a big deal for Avi Loeb. It's one more of those anomalies or anomalous things that the planetary scientists were saying, hey, that's anomalous to us. Again, I've described that what anomalous is to a planetary scientist is different from what Avi Loeb was doing. And that is, the scientists are saying it's anomalous based on how many of these we've seen currently in modern times and in the past. That's what anomalous means. It doesn't mean the entire universe or the entire solar system because they can't see everything. Okay? So basically, what we're showing you here is there's 3I Atlas on top and there's its beautiful antitail. There's the comet Aaron Rowland with its antitail. And there's the third comet with its antitail. I mean, come on, guys. This is not an anomaly. It's just rare that planetary scientists have seen it, but it does not mean that ET Tech is involved. ET Tech is not involved.
One 3I Atlas anomaly is the discovery of nickel without iron. Hybrid asteroids with comet characteristics are known to outgas nickel without iron. Since 3I Atlas is a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics, this action is not an anomaly.
Right. I've explained a little bit about this nickel-iron natural process of separating them, but this is going to go into not only a little bit more of a science to it with some pictures, but it's going to reveal something even more to you about our very own planet. Again, here we are, our celestial neighborhood. Okay. So the sun and the planets form together, right? About, as they say today, 4.7 billion years ago. And this is from the after effects of a supernova explosion. And before this supernova event, our solar system was just a bunch of solar nebula, gas, and dust, just swirled around, doing its thing, moving through the universe. The explosion happens, and this caused a simultaneous creation of nickel and iron, among other things. This is how our solar system was created. Very volatile. In fact, the whole universe is very volatile. Okay? So this is why nickel and iron are naturally linked together as an item found right here on Earth, in our solar system, and with comets and asteroids and infinitesimals, all made from the same stuff, okay? So just remember that 3I Atlas is not a comet. It's a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics. It's really important to keep that in mind. So, and why is that? Because some, not all, but some hybrid asteroids, this is science, undergo natural processes that break down and separate nickel and iron so that nickel outgasses without iron. Now, one of these processes involves exposure to solar ultraviolet radiation, which 3I Atlas was exposed to with the sun. It's natural, okay? So it was also thought that there was never, ever, ever to be found on our planet nickel without iron. Oops. In 2016, that was ended. Look on the left. You see these two photographs? That's from the Titan deposit. That's nickel. Those little globules are nickel, 94% nickel, no iron. That's Africa. Oh, and to remind you, a big glob of the planet Theia, the size of the moon, inside our Earth, is under the continent of Africa. That means anything? It may not, but I want to bring that together for you folks. So, even on Earth, where nickel and iron were thought to always be found together, 2016, African discovery. It's in lots of little places in Africa. So, again, I got to go back to Avi Loeb, the astrophysicist, used the nickel without iron outgassing event for 3I Atlas, hypothetically, as an ET tech supporting anomaly. So obviously his use of that is not valid. Avi Loeb, the astrophysicist, has a penchant for linking interstellar objects to hypothetical needs of his own. And he's written, in particularly when it comes to 3I Atlas, he's written a paper, which we'll get to in a moment. But before we do that, I want to explain what is a hypothesis paper. You really need to understand what that is. Okay? So, part of the definition of an astrophysicist, and in some respects, some astronomers, is coming up with hypotheses about what things are, how they work, to counter some ideas. It's all about going outside the scientific box of settled science or supposed or theorized science, and going beyond that and imagining what could be. What might that be? So, on its face, it's not unusual for an astrophysicist like Avi Loeb to come up with a hypothesis, particularly when it involves something so interesting as interstellar objects. He did it with 3I Atlas, he did it with 1I Oumuamua, and he did it with some other objects that he thought were going to be at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, all involving ET. Now, a hypothesis paper has rules. These rules are not as strict as a theoretical paper or a thesis paper, but the rules for a hypothesis paper are very clear. You have to springboard it off of some topic that is real. And so the springboard that you use has to matter. And if the springboard that you're using is ridiculous, nonsense, unimportant, the entire hypothesis paper fails. And that's what happened with Avi Loeb's 3I Atlas hypothesis paper. It failed. It failed for many reasons. It failed because of the springboard that he chose. And it failed because all of the anomalous things that he was glomming onto from the planetary scientists proved to be incorrect classification.
So this is the title of Avi Loeb's hypothesis paper. Is the interstellar object 3I Atlas alien technology? It's quite interesting that there's three names on this paper. There's Adam Hibbard, Adam Crowell, and Avi Loeb. And this was the first version, version 1, submitted on July 16, 2025. And here is an excerpt from that paper. At this early stage of its passage through our solar system, 3I Atlas, the recently discovered interstellar interloper, has displayed various anomalous characteristics. We hypothesize that this object could be technological, and possibly hostile, as would be expected from the dark forest resolution to the Fermi paradox. Most likely outcome, natural, probably a comet.
Okay. Now we're really going to get into the weeds on this Avi-Loeb hypothesis thing. Both Adam Hibbard and Adam Crowell seem to have moved back into, behind the curtain and the woodwork. It's Avi-Loeb who is the face and the voice of this hypothesis paper. So I'm just going to refer to Avi-Loeb as I have, and I'm not going to mention the other two writers anymore. Okay. Now, I told you that in a hypothesis paper, the springboard, the what if, thinking outside that scientific box, is like the all-important thing to the hypotheses. If that springboard is weak or nonsense, the entire thing fails. And that's what happened with this particular hypothesis paper. And the problem is they use something called the Fermi paradox and the dark forest resolution. Now, the Fermi paradox is a question that was allegedly posed by a very famous scientist named Enrico Fermi in 1950. He was part of the Manhattan Project, by the way. You can look him up. Very famous. Now, this question, which Fermi never himself wrote about, this was more like a water cooler thing that they say he spoke, and he never called it the Fermi paradox, okay? Others did. So the question dealt with the statistical logic there that there must be life in the universe other than just on Earth. I mean, you would look up at the sky at night and see, all these stars. We can't be the only one with a star, the sun, that has life. So the paradox of that logic arises, and the question is, well, if there's life out there, which there must be with all those stars, where are the ETs? Why is there no evidence of them? Remember, this is 1950, okay? So now, many have come along and tried to give their concept of what could possibly be the resolution to that paradox. All those ETs must be out there. Where are they? We can't see them here. There's no evidence on Earth. 1950. Okay. So there is this science fiction book called The Dark Forest, and it proposed a solution to the Fermi paradox, which a lot of people have glommed onto. And The Dark Forest says that the universe, and I'm paraphrasing, the universe is silent because other civilizations hide to avoid destruction by other hostile neighbors. So any detected life in the universe is viewed as an immediate threat and must be dealt with. And so that's why, according to this 1950 thing, we're not seeing any evidence of ETs on our planet. Well, au contraire. In 1950, for those of you who follow UFO data information, both the real and the unreal, by 1950, there sure was a lot of talk and possibly evidence about ETs. We can just start with 1947, the Roswell event. No matter what the Roswell event turns out to be, it was the talk of the town. It was in papers. It was everywhere. And most certainly, it would have been talked about by scientists as, attached to the Manhattan Project. And Enrico Fermi was the guy who invented a certain type of nuclear power, the nuclear power plant. So I'm just thinking that if any scientist was going to be read in on the reality of UFOs and ETs on our planet, Enrico Fermi, I would think, would be one of them. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Okay? But then, in the late 1940s and the 1950s, early 1950s through the 1960s, you had the UFO grifters like George Van Tassel, who created out of whole cloth the Ashtar Command, and George Adamski also created his Venusian experiences and stuff. That's all made up stuff. And Pigtail Gurl, you and I did a show on this showing how the real stuff is out there, but this is the fake stuff, the grifter stuff. Okay? And the grifter stuff lives today, started from these people. But there were other very real and made public UFO experiences of all different kinds during that time. So I'm thinking, first of all, that Enrico Fermi knew more than, if he ever said this, which I can't even imagine, back in 1950. Also, using this particular 1950 Fermi paradox as the hypothesis springboard does not create a serious what-if scenario. Like I said, modern ET-UFO disclosure, first of all, nullifies this. Why use that when we're into the ET-UFO disclosure times? Just makes no sense, okay? And also, and I'm speaking as a scientist, a serious and realistic springboard could have been Earth's more than 100 years of broadcasting and the unwise messaging through the interstellar probes Pioneer 10 and 11 and Voyager 1 and 2. The hypotheses should have used those, which would have been serious and real, and also the hypotheses paper should not have used or leaned on Star Trek plot lines, which Avi Loeb was doing. And we're going to show you this in just a moment.
So we're going to go into more of the Avi Loeb 3i Atlas ET tech hypothesis claims. Number 1, there is a 40% chance that ET tech is controlling 3i Atlas. Number 2, 3i Atlas has so many anomalies that it just cannot be natural. Number 3, 3i Atlas has no comma, tail or outgassing as normal comets have. Number 4, 3i Atlas has acceleration beyond any known means for a comet. Number 5, 3i Atlas has a hyperbolic path that is unnatural for comets. Number 6, 3i Atlas changes color, unlike other comets. Number 7, 3i Atlas hid behind the sun at perihelion to engage in planned activities while hidden from view. Number 8, 3i Atlas showing nickel without iron was a technological signature of ET manufacturing. Number 9, 3i Atlas has an anti-tail, making it a 1 in 4 billion probability that it's a natural comet.
Okay, well, I should also tell you that I actually have a copy of this Avi Loeb hypotheses paper, and I've read it more than once. So I'm taking these hypothesis claims, and remember, a hypothesis is a what-if imagination. He's not theorizing it. He's not claiming that's what it is. He's very careful about that. But he does begin to lean into that. So, the one thing that I can say about Avi Loeb, because we are crushing him here, but his ability to take over, really, take over the conversation of 3i Atlas. He stepped into a void of information left by the planetary scientists, who should have done very much what Pigtail Gurl and I did, showing you all the information about the cosmic neighborhood that we live in, all about how our solar system is. All of this would have given, folks a really good grounding in everything that they're talking about. And so when Avi Loeb would come in with his hypotheses, it wouldn't just take all the oxygen out of the room. He would just be one of the voices, not the biggest voice. Because as we said before, his intervention into his hypotheses caused chat on ET-UFO disclosure to be reduced by 80%. Now, we've talked about some reasons why Avi Loeb's hypothesis claims simply can't hold water at all and wouldn't. But there are reasons more why Avi Loeb's hypothesis claims are effectively disproved. Effectively disproved. And it's important for another scientist, here I am, to effectively disprove. Now, I know that some other scientists have written some papers or blogs or did a little podcast on why some of the figures and numbers that he was using in the hypotheses paper just were not accurate, and I leave that to them. Everything else, that's me. Okay? So the first thing is, of course, that 3I Atlas is not a comet. It's an interstellar hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics. So every time that he gloms onto this thing as a comet, he has erred. It's wrong. It's effectively disproved. Now, being a hybrid asteroid with comet characteristics actively checks off the boxes of known features of some hybrid asteroids with comet characteristics. So the whole comet thing, and did you notice that he put this paper out so early before more data could be put out there by the planetary scientists that at the time there were no comet characteristics at all. And he puts that, it's in his hypotheses paper. So, that just shows he's glomming onto anything that the planetary scientists say are anomalous, and they're not anomalous, okay? So the bulk of the 3I Atlas ET Tech hypothesis is based on all of his flawed object classification. And the bulk of the 3I Atlas ET Tech hypothesis claims, every single one of them is flawed. It's flawed because the hypothesis claims have nothing to stand on. Nothing. Okay? And they are therefore effectively debunked. And there is no ET Tech involved with 3I Atlas because everything is debunked. Even in his hypothesis paper is the interstellar object 3I Atlas alien technology. The conclusion says right there, the object is probably a comet. Even there, wrong. It's not a comet. Okay? I told you just a little while ago that the springboard what if question for the Avi Loeb hypothesis paper was a fail. And I showed you why the Fermi paradox and the dark forest were a fail. And I told you there were two other really, really good ones that Avi Loeb could have used and gotten to the same place that he wanted to. Now, I will also say, on behalf of Avi Loeb, from a scientist's point of view, that it's a talent to be able to market yourself and become the word for something. It's a talent to be able to raise millions of dollars for your pet projects, which, by the way, he did off of his other It's an ET Tech situation. He's very, very good at it. So, and there's nothing wrong with having that kind of talent. A lot of other people wish they did. Okay? So there's nothing wrong with the hypothesis paper being a hypothesis paper. There's nothing wrong with having this particular talent. What's wrong is how he did it and the reasons why he did it. That's where things went very, very wrong. Here, I'm putting out now for you all two of the really, really, really good and realistic springboards he could have used, and his hypothesis paper would have been justified, and you'll see why. So the first thing I just want you guys all to know is that if you're an advanced ET in this universe, you are able to obtain and decipher all Earth transmissions. Just accept that. Okay? I'm not talking about any ETs that are still stuck doing propulsion like humans do. I'm talking about ETs who, for thousands of years, some of them millions of years, they use interstellar and intrastellar travel. No propulsion. No propulsion. Okay? So Consider the fact that for over 100 years, Earth has been transmitting stuff out into the solar system. And it keeps going until something stops. We're talking about vintage TV broadcasts with rabbit antennas. We're talking about current telecom towers. We're talking about HARP. We're talking about deep space stations that communicate to Mars, to the rovers on Mars, to the orbiters around Mars. We're talking about vintage radio broadcasts. Okay? All of that has gone out beyond the Earth. And the more powerful they became as time went by, the farther into the solar system they went. But it wouldn't matter. You have to understand that ETs have been here a long time. Come on. And, that evidence is everywhere. And that's why UFO ET disclosure is getting closer. And it's also why Avi Loeb has tried to capture part of that market. I hope that's something he really doesn't do, because his approach to things, I disagree with it completely, and I'm showing you why and how that is. So the first springboard for a hypothesis paper would be to say, hey, look, advanced ETs, they're able to obtain and decipher all of our Earth communications. So maybe they're coming here. Maybe this is how they do it. And then he could, go into his three-eye atlas or one-eye Oumuamua thing. But the latching on to all those planetary scientist things with the comet and the whole thing, there's so much better stuff that he could have done. But if he wanted to stick to his three-eye atlas and one Oumuamua thing, he could have used this, the communications coming off of Earth, which is real. And this, folks, is a real, genuine threat. And when Carl Sagan and his partner put it out there as their pet project, nobody asked the world. They just did it. And in my opinion, it was wrong. And what was wrong? Let's take a look.
The Pioneer 10 and 11 golden plaques and the Voyager 1 and 2 golden records were sent into interstellar space with this main goal: to send messages from humanity to any potential extraterrestrial life that might intercept the probes and learn about humanity and visit Earth. Sending these messages was ill-advised. They pose a great danger to Earth. Humans even provided a map to where the Earth is located. Should hostile ETs find any of them, the ETs would view humans as naive, primitive, vulnerable, and ripe for the taking.
Okay. Now, on the left is that golden plaque. Pioneer 10 and 11 spacecraft plaques. And on the left, you see what the spacecraft look like. They were launched in 1972 and 1973 and reached inner interstellar space. In other words, that space outside the heliopause, but inside where the Oort cloud edge begins. Remember, I showed you that map, and you can always, stop the show, go back, take a look at that map. So it's been in this inner interstellar space, respectively 1983 for one and 1990 the other. Can you imagine sending this thing out to say, hello, ETs, we want to be friends. Oh, by the way, we don't wear clothes or anything, but I hope you don't mind. And a map back to the planet. Seriously, folks, that's dangerous. Now, Voyager 1 and 2 look like the one on the top right that I did there. They were launched, respectively, in 1977, and they reached the same interstellar space in 2012 and 2018. That's the inner interstellar. It would take them hundreds of years to go through that inner interstellar and thousands of years to go through the Oort cloud. But, folks, imagine if this were the springboard for Avi Loeb's hypotheses paper. This is a real and clear and present danger to our planet. And then he could have got into what ETs. He didn't even have to use 3i Atlas. I mean, I know why he did. He glommed onto this dark info zone that the planetary scientists allowed to happen, and boom, he was there. That's his talent, and he's allowed to do it. I just don't like what he did, because he's wrong in everything he did. But here you see it, folks, and this record on Voyager, it's actually a record, and it shows lots of different types of people and cultures and things, and again, primitive, naive, vulnerable, ripe for the taking. Very dangerous. So he could have used just this, or he could have used the other one with the outgoing broadcast communications, or put them both together. This is how you do it, folks. This is what makes a great hypotheses springboard what-if paper. And he didn't do it. Okay.
So earlier, Starfire mentioned how the hypothesis paper was leaning a lot on ideas from Star Trek movies instead of real data points. So did Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, have an influence on Avi Loeb as it regards his hyped hypothesis that interstellar hybrid asteroids, 1I Oumuamua and 3I Atlas, might be hostile interstellar ET probes seeking to harm Earth? After all, that is a major plotline in the movie. How very strange and revealing.
All right, well, for your viewing pleasure, folks, you can see at the top right, this is from the movie Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. It's my favorite Star Trek movie, by the way. And it's very popular. And there at the top right is this interstellar ET probe that's threatening planet Earth. Oh, now, look down at what they believe 1I Oumuamua looked like. Oh, my. And look over at 3i Atlas. Oh, my again. Okay? So here we have this cylindrical, cigar-shaped object, interstellar space, threatening the Earth. Okay? Is this a coincidence that he glommed onto 3i Atlas and 1I Oumuamua because of its shape? Let's go to the next.
The Star Trek 4 The Voyage Home influence continues with the slingshotting plotline, aka the Oberth maneuver, written into their July 16, 2025 hypothesis paper. Is Interstellar Object 3I Atlas alien technology, authored by Hibbard, Crowell, and Loeb? Note, Avi Loeb is the voice and face of this paper.
Okay, now, in the Star Trek 4 movie, there are three major plot lines. 1, an interstellar ET probe threatens Earth with destruction, as I mentioned. 2, Admiral Kirk and his crew use an ET ship to slingshot around the sun in a plan to halt Earth destruction. Actually, it's a Klingon ship. And 3, they save the whales. The only thing that Avi Loeb didn't use was there were no whales being saved in his hypothesis paper. So solar or planetary slingshotting is a concept related to the Oberth maneuver, okay?
This is an excerpt from the paper. The eclipse by the sun from Earth of 3I Atlas at perihelion would allow it to conduct a clandestine reverse solar Oberth maneuver, an optimal high-thrust strategy for interstellar spacecraft to break and stay bound to the sun. An optimal intercept of Earth would entail an arrival in late November, early December of 2025, and also a non-gravitational acceleration.
Right. Now, of course, at the end there, Avi Loeb, he's talking about 3i Atlas. And I bring your attention, folks, to the image in the upper right corner there of your screen. This is a screenshot from the movie. And there, Admiral Kirk and his crew slingshot around the sun in a Klingon spacecraft in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. Of course, they're doing this to go back in time. Fortunately, Avi Loeb did not bring in time travel into his hypotheses, but I think you can see his talking about the Oberth maneuver and the slingshotting thing. And there's another plot line from the movie, the Star Trek 4 movie. Weird, huh? Okay, so then I did a little thing here for you guys to get an idea that the Oberth maneuver is, used to gain maximum speed. And many space probes actually have used planetary gravity assist to get where they were going. And the Oberth maneuver, which effectuates interstellar escape trajectories, actually that has never been used in real life, but the slingshotting has.
On December 19th, 2025, 3i Atlas and the Earth were at their closest to each other. Closest wasn't that close. At 170 million miles, aka 270 million kilometers distance. 3i Atlas was never a danger to the Earth, nor did it ever approach the Earth. 3i Atlas was moving away from Earth, as Earth, in its orbit, was chasing after 3i Atlas.
Right. Now, this is really important because not just seemed like everybody got, one person says 3i Atlas is on approach to Earth. 3i Atlas is chasing after Earth. These were repeated over and over again in podcasts and in blogs and all sorts of places. And it's not right. It's not correct. Earth was never in danger from 3i Atlas, unlike the hypotheses of Avi Loeb's, hypothesis paper. None of Avi Loeb's 3i Atlas ET Tech hypotheses hype came to pass. Now, that's a big debunking, an entire hypothesis paper. But we did it in the show. Now, since Loeb had stated that there was a 40% chance that the ET Tech hypotheses might be true, well, through his self-marketing, he kept the world, especially those following ET-UFO Disclosure, hanging on his every word. He pulled in a wider audience with his fear factor focus on the Sun 3i Atlas perihelion event, another potentially dangerous event for the Earth. This ET danger would be unleashed, so the hypothesis goes, when 3i Atlas was out of view behind the Sun. And I showed you and I explained to you that 3i Atlas was never out of view of camera when it was behind the Sun, and that the Golden Comet was also behind the Sun. Never mentioned, though. Okay, so in their hypothesis paper is the interstellar object 3i Atlas alien technology. The three authors conclude, which we stated once before, this is a quote, the most likely outcome will be that 3i Atlas is a completely natural interstellar object, probably a comet. Like I said, wow. Why didn't they just start with that and then do their hypotheses? I bet very few people have read the paper and never came across that part of the hypothesis paper. So over on the left here, you see I put together a map to show you what I'm talking about here. All right. The white on the left is the trajectory of 3i Atlas. Okay. And on the right upper, you see in blue, Earth. Now, Earth is on its orbit going, around the Sun. So it's not on a trajectory where it can just do whatever it wants. Okay. But 3i Atlas, with its small bow curve, is traveling into the solar system and out of the solar system. Now, the fact of the matter is, while Earth is coming up to the top of its orbit, as far as we're looking at this map, 3i Atlas is already past the Earth. It's already done its perihelion with the Earth really, really, really far away, and is actually moving away from the Earth. In its orbit position, the Earth has the appearance of actually chasing 3i Atlas. You see? Everybody who said it was approaching it or chasing it, they had it backwards. And I want everyone to know this. Okay? Debunked. Pigtail Gurl and I talked about how Avi Loeb's involvement with his hypotheses paper about Three Eye Atlas actually cause about an 80% reduction in chat, particularly net chat, even on the news, about ET-UFO disclosure. And that was very concerning because even though I don't agree with all of the information coming out about ETs and UFOs, I mean, some of it is real, some of it is very much not real. I think it's a really positive step forward that is being taken seriously and being talked about because those pilots, mill pilots, the professionals that have witnessed something really weird going on when they're in flight or looking at radar or on the ground, none of them are saying what it is. They're just saying what they've observed. And that's the thing to do. So you can believe any of these pilots or technicians who have made those claims, those types of claims, these are the people you can believe. Okay? What concerns me, Pigtail Gurl, the most about what's coming next with ET-UFO disclosure is what's going to be disclosed and how it's going to be disclosed. Now, I know that you and I've talked about this a lot privately, but we know that there are a lot of grifters in the ET-UFO community.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have become very prominent. Some of them years ago, and they're still prominent now. And some of them just in the past few years have become very prominent. Some of them claiming to be an insider. Some of these people may be honest. They may be honestly telling what they believe is the inside. But from what I've heard these various people say in the various mediums that they've made themselves heard, from what I've heard, none of them are actually on the inside, the actual inside. But they're probably on the outside of the inside, and they believe that they are on the inside. And as far as the compartment that they're connected to, they think that's the inside. It's not. So I'm telling them, if they're listening to this, you're not on the inside. Okay. Then you have those who are pretending to be on the inside, and they're not. It's just nonsense, and there are all different reasons why they're doing it. Some may have been put up to it to keep a lid on things. Some may just be taking advantage of their past jobs, or maybe they're claiming to have jobs that they never had. I mean, all of those things are real. So some of these people are very genuine, and they're being very genuine. And I'm not going to mention names, Pigtail Gurl. You know, we know who they are. But I'm not going to mention names because that's not the purpose of this show. I know we talked about the latest news to the moment, and that is that the commander-in-chief of the U.S. has decided that he is going to release ET-UFO disclosure data. Well, that sounds pretty wonderful, right?
Sure.
Oh, man. No. There are some terrible, terrible pitfalls to this. Now, first, what are not pitfalls? Hey, the human race can deal with it. So get over that. That's not an excuse not to do it. Now, there may be some planetary or country security reasons. That needs to be considered. There are some security reasons which I'm actually behind, and not to say what is out there. But on the other hand, you and I, Pigtail Gurl, we put out a lot of real information, and without compromising anyone or anything. So a lot of information can be given. What really has me concerned, which I've made a point of a number of times now, and Pigtail Gurl has made a point of, is that there are certain people who have been very vocal and very present when it comes to ET-UFO disclosure, whether they claim to have gathered lots of people around them who are very knowledgeable, who are insiders, who are in the know. And this one person that I'm thinking about, very, very active right now, and has been active for many years, he believes that his information is so real and so accurate that he has the ear of the commander in chief. And I have a deep concern because I listened to what this gentleman had to say, and about 10% of what he says, I would say, is accurate. And that accuracy has to do with there being a imaginary ET invasion, infestation, when no ETs are actually doing that, and it's for very nefarious purposes to the planet, and such a notion should be rejected absolutely. Okay, so when he talks about that he's correct about. When he talks about that there is technology out there that humans have that's really spectacular and you don't know about it, yes, that's true. I'm not going to say that what he says is technology out there, because I don't agree with everything he says. But, there is a whole other space program out there, but it's just not generally what people say it is. And when you look at Earth's human technology, like in aerospace, well, what they're working on and what they put out there, when people find out about it, it's like 30 years it's been out there already. Like the stealth bomber. So that's a given. And some things have to be kept under wraps for now, because that's a security advantage. So I am all for, I wish I was the one helping to parse through these things for, the people who want to know, the people, commander-in-chief and all the people that work in that system. I'd like to do it, but I know that will never happen. So everything else that same person, who's very into the ET-UFO disclosure community, very founding-like to that community, does not understand a single thing about the ETs in our presence or who were in our presence. He's got them wrong. He's got a lot of things wrong. So everything other than which I just mentioned, everything he says is wrong. Okay? Now, you have other people claiming to be, like I said, insiders. And some of them are telling you the truth. They think they're on the inside, but they're really in some compartment that is on the outside of the inside. That's okay. The point is, they're still telling the truth. And then you have others who are just out there faking it. They may have a job description that sort of matches what they want to be, but they don't really know. They want you to think they do, but they don't. Okay? So I'm very conscious of all this. So I really have, Pigtail Gurl, I really have a concern that the commander-in-chief is going to have the ear, is going to have the ear of the wrong people and the wrong information, and that the commander-in-chief is going to come out with a ET-UFO disclosure thing, and he's going to be putting out there all the wrong stuff. This is going to be completely detrimental to the whole thing, to ET-UFO disclosure. Completely detrimental. He cannot go out there and put out information about the security of our planet that is not true. Our planet is not secure. And hostile ETs, good ETs, all been here. Some are still here. You cannot say that all ETs are wonderful, they're great, they're helping us. No. There's definitely two camps to that. Pigtail Gurl, you and I have done a number of shows on this too.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
Well, the way I look at reality is, if I want to understand reality, I just look around at it. And when I just look around at reality, I think we can see that all kinds of energies exist, even just in our ecosystem on our own planet. And then I always just think microcosm, macrocosm when I'm looking at the universe. So whatever I'm seeing here in energetics, good, bad, black, white. I just assume that it's something exists throughout our universe.
Right. I mean, people on our planet are saying, love conquers all. Love rules the world. Love makes the world go round. I wish it was that way.
I do too. We'd all love that, really.
Right. But
But it's not a reality.
no, none. As we've showed in this episode, and another reason why we wanted you to see the cosmic universe neighborhood that we live in and how volatile, naturally volatile the universe is. We come from, things exploding, crashing into each other. All sorts of things. So love does exist in the cosmos. It's definitely a part of that. It emanates from souls. We did a show on this too. Souls are literally stardust. That's what they're made from. And the love that is in our world, in ourselves, in this universe, in our galaxy, in our solar system, comes from our souls, comes from the cosmic souls, because their souls are everywhere. That's where our love, but love is not meant to conquer. Love is meant to reveal that which is volatile and make it small. And along with love, you have to have strength. You have to be secure against the volatilities out there. That's why right now I think some of this technology just shouldn't be showed. Oh, one more thing I want to say. This is another thing that some people say that they shouldn't. That's about reversed engineering, about collecting downships. Every single piece of ET technology that humans got their hands on were given to them by hostile ETs who put it into human hands so that humans could recreate a technology that they lost in a very old ET versus ET conflict here on the planet between 12 and 14,000 years ago. We've done a show on that. And so to say that, they find, they go find these downed UFOs, no, this is all orchestrated by these evil ones. And so that's what I want everyone to know. When you hear people say that, they have reversed engineering, it's stuff that was given to them, whether they realize it or not. Back in the 40s, they knew it. Today, I don't know if anyone's still alive, if this information has been passed on. But if someone says they're on the inside and they don't know what I'm saying now, they're not on the inside. But I'm not going to give away important technology that may or may not have come from ETs that are for the security of the planet. Because I'm really, really big on securing the Earth. Right now, it is not secure.
Well, I wonder if there is actually, apart from obviously our listeners here on the Time Chronicles, any group of humans on the planet that really knows the truth about the ET presence.
Well, if there are any other, some of them got it from us, from us. If there's anyone left alive from this time, they would know. And if this information was known, I think they've kept it to themselves. Because when I see the way the world works, that's an influence of evil.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the good is trying really, really hard to deal with that. And the problem that good has with this is that humans don't recognize evil as being something that's actually real. I mean, some do, yeah, of course. But until you realize that evil is here and that a lot of it and most of it actually originated with these ETs, you don't really know what's going on. So, I mean, it's important to know.
It is important. Yeah.
So that's it. I'm just hoping that real ET-UFO disclosure doesn't include wrong nonsense, just nonsense being put out there as if it's real. Because it's just gonna backfire.
And if anyone wants the real disclosure, they can always listen to our podcast, and you can show them over here, share the link so they can get
Right.
in the know.
Right, you are.
Right.
Okay. Well, I guess we did it.
So there you have it, guys. We're getting closer to the truth. Perhaps we're not there fully yet in the outside world, but at least here at the Time Chronicles, we're getting closer and closer and bringing you all those truths as much as we can. So we hope you enjoyed the show today. We hope that you will share this show, and always remember to leave your comments below and let us know what you think about the show and give us your feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And I can't wait to see you again on the next episode of the Time Chronicles.